Welcome to another episode of Washington in Focus. I'm your host, Tim Klauser, with the Center Square's Western Washington correspondent, Spencer Pauly, here to talk about new Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson making a statement in response to the apparent, what looks to be the killing of a woman, Renee Good, in Minneapolis by an ICE officer in the last few days. Now Wilson is saying, look, if you see ICE in town, you should call the police or whatever this hotline is that they have established. Spencer, you've reported on this. You've took kind of the fallout from lawmakers over it. What are they saying?
Basically, Tim, it seems like Seattle, including Mayor Katie Wilson and all the city council members, are taking a real, stand against ICE after what happened last week with the killing of Renee Good. Now, what Katie Wilson initially said in a video published, she urged residents to sign up for what's called the Washington All ICE Mobilization Alert System. Now, this just informs people of where ICE is present in Seattle, and in turn, this can lead to, let's say, perhaps undocumented immigrants escaping the area, or to protesters to go and make it a more difficult task for ICE to do their job. Now, that caused a stir, of course, as I initially reported, just because I think it is notable that this alert system is organized by the Washington Indivisible Network. Now, that is a progressive organization that opposes Trump-era policies, and the broader organization, its affiliates, have received funding from George Soros's foundation. Now, of course, Soros is a buzzword, I suppose, to conservative groups. So that is a detail that I think that drew a lot of eyes. But yeah, since then, Tim, Wilson hasn't really stepped down from the rhetoric. She's continuing to emphasize that Seattle is just this welcoming city for all, including immigrants and undocumented residents. And it's the same with the city council. They're all against ICE right now after what happened last week.
Yeah, it's quite the statement to make. And I understand, I mean, from first looks, you saw a lot of the videos of the killing of Renee Good come out. And from those angles, those initial angles, it looked like, this officer was able to step out of the way of this vehicle with ample time and fire the shots at this lady, killing her. And then we saw in the days after what appeared to be body camera footage or a cell phone video from the phone that this officer was holding. And as this lady appears to accelerate towards him in the video, it appears that he's standing directly in front of the vehicle. And per their policy, I mean, they're supposed to use lethal force in those situations. So a bit of a toss up there. Definitely unfortunate the way everything went down. But you have this situation that's really politically charged. I mean, of course, people are going to make statements on this, but at the same time, you have this agency, which, immigration enforcement is a politically charged, it's a controversial thing right now, but a lot of the people that they're going after are criminals, people that are in the country illegally, people that are trafficking drugs. And we've seen that happen in Seattle, Spokane, other areas of Washington, where ICE comes in and they make these arrests. And some of them are politicized and other ones are, you look at it and say, this guy was a drug dealer. But to take something like the killing of Renee Good and say, look, anytime you see ICE, you should call this hotline. I mean, a lot of those people that they could be picking up could be killers. They could be rapists. They could be drug traffickers. And that's not to say that all of them are, but to go out and alert every time you see ICE when that's what they're trying to get. I mean, we've seen people calling it dangerous.
I can see the point. I would just say that I don't know if Katie Wilson's message means anything, because I think a lot of Seattle residents who are already really focused on this topic have already probably used this system. I think since Trump came into office with the rhetoric against ICE, I mean, I covered last year the protest out after what happened in Los Angeles when we saw Seattle break out into a protest that included a dumpster fire. Of course, it wasn't as bad as it was in 2020 with the George Floyd protest, but I mean, it's always going to be a frustration with this from Seattle residents. I don't know how many of them we learned about the alert system, but I know a lot of people in Seattle use, say, Blue Sky or not so much X, just because I think that's not so much what progressives use for social media, but like looking at Reddit, to see when ICE has been alerted in, like, say, North Seattle, which was the case, I think, the day after Renee Good was killed. ICE did some. They arrested 2 people, I think, in North Seattle that day.
Yeah.
And so it's just, despite what's going on, this is happening in Seattle. They are doing their job. They're going after illegal immigrants in the state.
Yeah, I think her statement, it aligns with a lot of the views in Seattle, but it really just sets the tone for this new administration, one that kind of continues her predecessor, but builds off of it a little bit more. But I found it interesting that in this 2-3 minute long statement that she posts, she says Renee Good, she references the woman as a poet. And then references these 3 people that were arrested in Seattle, but she doesn't say why they were arrested. There's no details offered there. It's kind of just demonizing ICE and furthering that rhetoric. And I get that there is a lot of varying opinions on what's going on, but it doesn't do any help for the rise in rhetoric on both sides of the aisle, I would say. And we've kind of seen that play out in the aftermath a little bit with GOP chairman Jim Walsh talking about how he was thought she was referring more so to voting and other issues. But I mean, even just in the almost, well, I guess it's been 2 months now since she was elected. I mean, she's been in office the last 2 weeks, but I've seen this outpouring and rhetoric, and it's really making me wonder, will it ever die down? Or is this just going to be the reality of the rest of the Kitty Wilson, Zohran Mamdani, Donald Trump administrations? Is this rhetoric just the reality of the everyday life that we're living now?
To me, it seems like just in her second week taking over as mayor, she has to kind of cater to her supporters and taking a big stand against, what they are against here in ICE, federal immigration enforcement and whatnot. So she's going to keep this up as far as I can see. And I was concerned, just came to my mind, is like, well, when you have this kind of rhetoric, does it escalate to a point where you're going to see perhaps violence out there when these protests escalate to more aggressive behavior? And that's something I talked to Representative Jim Walsh about. And he said, I quote here, he goes, some of her other rhetoric walks right up to the line of inciting violence, but it probably doesn't cross that line, but it comes very close. So if this keeps going, this is just the second week of her administration, keeps going, perhaps it might cross that line, and then we might have to prepare for what could be more escalation when it comes to public unruliness.
Yeah, I know residents don't really want to see. I mean, maybe they would like a repeat of the No King's Day in the sense that they're able to protest, but I don't think people want to see a repeat of what we saw on July 11th across much of the country ahead of the No King's Day protests, where there was a lot of tension resulting out of the National Guard presence in LA and the immigration enforcement there. I don't think anyone wants to see that again. I cover Spokane myself. There was dozens of arrests there. It was quite the issue, but definitely something we'll continue to keep our eyes on, especially with this new administration. Seattle, Spencer, we thank you for covering this, and for anyone hoping to catch more of Spencer's reading or writing, you can catch it at thecentersquare.com. Otherwise, thank you for joining us for another episode of Washington in Focus.